Hey team, and welcome. I'm your host, Carrie, creator of Mother Life, your destination for all things real talk and parenting. This is the IRL group chat, where we talk about the wild balancing act of pursuing careers and passions while also doing our best to show up for our kids. Join me every week as I sit down with some badass parents in my closet and we talk about their careers, kids, and relationships and all of the weird shit that comes up when you're trying to balance the seemingly impossible. Evolution. We are constantly being given the opportunity to evolve, to reflect on where we are in our lives and decide whether or not it's working for us. As parents, that proposition is presented to us with each new stage of parenting, each new novel situation we find ourselves in with our kids, and each professional opportunity that comes to us along the way. Underlying those life changes that push us to evolve our behavior, there's a more foundational question about our evolution, our identity, who we are at our core, who we view ourselves to be, and where we belong. Often that evolution, whoever you are, can be the hardest to achieve. It takes immense bravery to put your life on the line literally and figuratively, and yet the payoff, living truly as yourself without qualification, is immeasurable. Today's guest had me thinking a lot about evolution and the complexity of what it means to both pursue your innermost truth while also figuring out what that means in the context of parenthood. Bennet Kaspar-Williams can only be described as a polythreat. He's a lawyer, an activist, a writer, and all-around creative. And he's a dad, specifically a seahorse dad. If you haven't heard the term yet, today's your lucky day. We get to talk all things evolution, complexity, identity, parenting, and hobbies with Bennett, a trans man who is also the gestational carrier for his son. There are a few things I want to say up front. First, I could have talked to Bennett for a very long time, but at some point I had to run off to do a camp pickup and leave him to get on with his own very busy life. Lucky for me, and you'll hear us talk about this up top, Bennett has written an amazing FAQ about his experience carrying his child. So if you have more questions beyond what we covered today in the chat, head to the show notes to learn more. And lastly, a disclaimer of sorts. I am not a gender expert. I am not an identity or LGBTQ plus expert in the least. I am just a well-intentioned, curious person constantly looking to expand my knowledge of other people's experiences and understand how it informs their humanity, their passions, and their parenting. You'll hear this in our conversation, my lack of deep knowledge along the way. I've purposely left in the bits where I make some faux pas and don't quite get it right because I'm not perfect and I'm learning too. And yes, I could have edited it out, but I'm choosing to be vulnerable about my own learning journey, just as guests show up every week and are vulnerable with me. Enjoy this episode, like and review, share with a friend, and let's continue the conversation either on Substack or Instagram.
Hi.
I'm really excited you're here.
Is this on?
It's on.
Okay, great.
You're good.
Good.
Welcome to the closet.
Hi. It's so nice to be here.
I'm so excited. Okay, so I've been thinking about it, and your FAQ is amazing.
Thank you.
And I was thinking about, would you be up for, in some way, if I adapt it and put it on the show notes?
Sure.
I'm here to talk about Bennett, the whole person.
Yep.
And obviously this is a huge part of your life and things that you think about, but it is not all of you.
Yeah, it's
right?
not the whole conversation.
Right?
Yeah, no, I love having it as a footnote, and I wrote it as an educational piece, so feel free to adapt it if you want. There's some questions in there that are very specific, to me, that if you're going to abridge it, probably those are the least interesting to share out. Okay. There's one that's specific to pronouns.
I thought that was interesting,
one
though.
that you really want to keep in.
Yeah.
Well,
Bennett,
I'll let you decide what you think is the most, since you are part of the audience of people
yes.
I hoped to educate, I'll let you keep it as you think it's valuable.
I really loved it.
But you liked that one.
And I appreciate... Well, what I liked about it is I feel like there are so many questions and that people will want to ask you or have the opportunity to ask where you're like, I've answered this so many times, or I don't want to have to do this work for you again.
Yes.
And I think the question about, if I'm remembering correctly, the question that I thought was really interesting was what pronouns are you going to assign to your child?
Correct.
And I thought that was just a really interesting question because it hadn't crossed my mind as a question.
But everything's up for a conversation and a discussion. And B, I like the way you answered it. It was just like, no matter what we do, and that's the crux of parenting, right? Like, no matter what you do, you're doing shit to your kid.
Yes.
For better or for worse.
Yes. You can't know what their choice is going to be. So honestly, I'm also very pragmatic. So I was like, statistically speaking, this kid is probably going to be cisgender. Like, they may not be. But I think the intention behind assigning your kid like a gender neutral pronoun instead of choosing one at birth that's, male or female, choosing a binary pronoun, is that the intention behind not doing that is that you want to free them from the expectations that come with the binary pronoun, and just like the binary generally, right? You want to liberate them so that they can make their own choices. I feel like you can empower a kid to think that way anyway, even if they use gendered pronouns. Like, because I use gendered pronouns. I'm a non-binary person who uses mostly, I use he and they pronouns, but primarily he, him pronouns. And I also understand all these things about gender. So I feel like you can live in both worlds. And if the kid, statistically speaking, is going to be cisgender, then you're still making a guess. And it probably won't be right. And so, just do your best to raise a kid who thinks the same way you do about gender, which is hopefully that things like, what people wear or how they do their hair or, whether they want to paint their fingernails or anything like that doesn't matter. No. And, let them be themselves.
Yeah. And that's ultimately it. Let them be themselves.
Yeah. Let them be themselves. These kids these days. My son is not quite 5, but in his preschool class, like, they have some of that fingernail polish that's the like peel off kind, the non-toxic stuff. And his teacher breaks out the fingernail polish, and they all are so excited to do things like get their nails painted. Yeah. Boys and girls included, and it's so refreshing to see that, like, those ideas about gender normativity and things like that haven't soaked in with those kids yet. Yeah. Because I feel like it very well could have by this age in some kids. And, it feels like we're doing a good job if the kids are that excited about doing it.
Certainly in LA. I'm from Florida, so I don't know if the nail polish has made it there. Yeah.
Probably not in Texas either, where I grew up.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, this is something that I figured we could bond over a little bit. Texas is real south, but Tampa, Florida is not Miami in many ways. So, but I accidentally walked into this myself the other day because my daughter's hair is starting to get long, and so she needs a hairbrush, and she needs a ponytail to keep her hair out of her eyes so she can play. I don't care about anything beyond that, the function of it, right? Yeah, yeah. My son had long hair up until he was almost 3, and then he finally got a haircut, and he has this amazing curly red hair. But now she has hair accessories, right, for her long hair. So I bought a caboodle, partially because I was like, caboodle, right?
I love a caboodle. I've been thinking about getting one for my tattoo supplies. I'm not going to lie.
Totally should. I mean, I wanted to buy myself one, and they had the same color combo that I had growing up, which was purple and teal, and I was like, this is the fucking...
The light teal?
Yes, I'll show it to you. It's the most litty lit, the best caboodle. Yes. So I get the caboodle, and I'm like, okay, this is where we're going to put your hair stuff, to my daughter, who's 2, and she goes, oh, and she's so excited, and my son's like, where's my motherfucking caboodle? And I'm like, dude, your hair isn't long enough. I would love to give you some ponytails if you let me in there. Let's try if you're interested. I'm down. But he was like, that's staying in our bathroom, our shared bathroom. That is a shared item. Because he saw this cool thing, and I was like, sure, it can stay in the bathroom. Yeah. And now every night when he gets out of the bath, he's making a point to go to the caboodle to get the hairbrush to brush his 4 hairs, because everything has to be even.
Yes, it has to be equal.
But I didn't even consider it when I bought the thing that this was potentially wading into something. Didn't even consider it.
Nope. And now you have a kid who wants to accessorize.
Which honestly couldn't be more thrilled.
I mean, that's my dream, is that I recently got a Labubu.
Oh my God.
Because I think they're super cute, but I also love that they're making playing with dolls gender neutral and normative for kids of any gender. Yeah. I brought one home and my son was so excited to play with it, but also to like put the little clothes on it and like do all of this. Like he started playing with it in this really imaginative, interactive way. And his first instinct was not to just start fighting with it, which is like how he plays with most of his other action figures or figurines or dolls. He didn't want to play with this, or he didn't want to fight with this one. He wanted to like dress it up and like play more gently, I guess, with it. And I got so excited, and so I was like, I'm going to encourage this because I want him to cultivate that like creative side of himself like through what it wears or how the Labubu expresses itself.
I'm literally trying to take this totally seriously right now because it's a beautiful point, and also like Labubus are doing good for the world. Like, who fucking knew?
I mean, I think
you knew.
I think first of all, I don't think anybody our age really has room to judge because we
Tamagotchis,
fell victim.
trolls.
Yeah, we fell victim
Beanie
to
Babies.
a lot of really stupid toy fads, right? And I think this is just another iteration of like that thing that is collectible and can be dressed up and whatever. But I think it's great to see people of all ages. It's nice to see adults inspired to be playful too. Because the world is going to shit right now, and if people need little dolls to be happy, then let them.
This is the equivalent of like the millennials and their avocado toast. Like they can't buy a house, they can't get a job. Let them eat the avocado.
Let them have a damn Labubu.
Yeah. So justice for Labubus.
Justice for Labubus. Mine is very happy.
If that's the only thing, let me see. Is it with us today?
Oh, yeah, it's with us today. This is one of them. We actually have two.
I'm dying. I've actually never seen one in real life. Is this a Gucci situation?
Well, it's not really Gucci. It's whatever the ripoff on Amazon is. Actually, this is actually a Lafufu, so this is a fake Labubu, the doll. I have a real one at home on my other bag, but he's dressed in all black goth, like not goth, but very like emo.
He didn't go with the look today.
He didn't go with the look today, so this is the one I gave my husband. He got the fake one because he doesn't really care about them. But it's brown and it matches, right? And also, I got one for my son. He also got a Lafufu because he was upset at first.
Child, yeah.
He could tell the difference, though. I made the mistake before I actually got one of showing him this Instagram post that was like how to tell the difference.
Oh.
And he has a mind like a
steel
trap.
On that
and
one.
So 2 days later, when I came home with one, he was like, "Oh, this one is real, but this one is fake." And you know how I can tell? And he proceeded to list off all of the things that were in that post, and I was like, first of all, impressive.
Bravo.
Second of all, plan did not work.
Yeah.
But I told him
fake,
it was
just different.
I told him it was for practice. And that if he could keep it clean and didn't destroy it, he might get a real one for his birthday.
What do they go for, these Labubus?
It depends.
These Labubus?
It depends. If you can get one from the actual people that sell, like, make them and sell them first party, they're like $22.
Right, but the markup's like crazy because nobody
crazy.
can get them.
You get them between $60 and $80 in the blind boxes, and then if they're like one of the rare ones, like, so my fake one is a fake version of one of the rare ones.
You better not get mugged with that thing.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, maybe, but I would be happy to explain to them why it's fake. And I'll tell anybody who asks.
So my son and I were watching this video.
Yeah, exactly. I'll tell anybody who asks it's fake. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm out here with a $150 stuffed animal on my thing. It costs $22 at the liquor store down the street.
I'm honestly thrilled that Labubus have made it to the pod. This is a first, a pod first.
You know who gave me the hookup? Erica.
Shout out to Erica Curtis. I can't remember which episode she is, but I'll put it in the show notes.
Shout out to Erica Curtis for being the Lafufu plug of the San Fernando
She's
Valley.
The dealer.
No, I just asked her where to go, and she doesn't gatekeep.
I love that. She doesn't about anything, actually.
Nope. She gave me the address and everything.
She didn't gatekeep you. I mean, for context for everybody else, I put out a call to all of my previous guests and online as well, just saying, like, I want interesting guests, and also, like, I want more experiences of parenthood on the pod. And the one thing that I really have missed so far is having more representation from the LGBTQ community, despite in my real life that being an important, like, part of my friend group. And a lot of my friends in those circles are either just starting to have kids or aren't going on that journey. So I was really excited that you were up for doing this.
Yep, and I think it'll be interesting because my journey is both very unconventional and also very conventional, depending on which lens you use to look at it.
Which I kind of think is everybody, in a way.
It is kind of everybody. I mean, the more I learn about parenting and the more parents I meet from different, all different stripes, the more I realize that we're all raising the same children.
Yeah.
Like our kids, at least locally and within, like, of course, the further out you go, the less normative the experience. But I feel like to some extent, developmentally, we're all raising kids that are kind of going through the same thing in their own way.
Yeah.
And so the experiences we have that impress upon us are probably more common than we think, despite the differences around the edges.
And it can feel so isolating as well. Yesterday, I was in my own therapy with my own therapist, and I was trying to troubleshoot some problem that I'm having, with my son. Not problem, challenge. He's just at a difficult age. He's got a lot of big feelings. Everything seems to be hard.
You said he's 5?
He's almost 5,
It's the limbic leap.
The limbic leap. Yes.
Yeah, it's the limbic leap. They're crazy.
They're fucking crazy. And I love him so much. And some days, though, I just feel like I don't even recognize him. And so we're talking about this, and I'm giving her examples, and I'm like, she's going to tell me I'm raising a sociopath. And she was like, Carrie, like, I have a grandson. He's exactly the same. It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of psychosis because of X, Y, and Z. And it's so comforting to hear that they're all equally psychotic.
Yeah. I feel like, for better, like, God bless the internet. For better or for worse, it has, I think, empowered people to now parent in a way with an eye on the fact that, like, some of the challenges that we are having with our kids are due to things that are completely outside of our control or their control, like developmentally. Like, we just have so much more information and we are so much more connected that we realize that our experiences are more universal than we think, and it allows us to stop, like, stop applying shame to things that don't need to be hidden away because they're like, it's shit that everybody goes through.
Yeah. I think that one of the big things to that point yesterday is I'm trying to troubleshoot with her on, like, how to deal with some shitty behavior. And it's shitty behavior, and I don't want my kid growing up thinking that shitty behavior is okay, right? So it's like, what do you do about it? Is it a timeout situation? Is it this or that? And she was just like, reward him for going to take a break. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, do the break, but, like, reward him. Give him a sticker on his sticker chart or a nickel or whatever the thing is, a chocolate chip, whatever the thing is. Be like, hey, good job on taking the break. It was so counterintuitive to me because in my mind, I'm like, you're being a shit. Go take a break. But she's like, no, reward him because what you're trying to teach him is to take the break himself.
Yeah, the break is what you want. Yeah.
Like, totally blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and that slight shift in perspective. It's just flipping the coin to the other side and looking the other way. I feel like we're supposed to be rewarding the behavior we want to see, right?
Yeah.
It's like not punishing what you don't want. It's rewarding what you do want.
Yeah. And I was like, well, okay, he wants nickels. He wants to collect money because he wants to buy a costume or something. I'm like, cool.
That must be a 5-year-old thing. My son is obsessed with money right now. But, like, with physical money, not the concept of money. Like,
having it's
actual
treasure.
money.
It's treasure. So, and I was like, well, he's now gaming the system. He's, like, going up to his sister and giving her kisses and stuff to get the nickel. And she was like, isn't that better than punching her? Like, give him the fucking nickel, Carrie. And I'm like, oh, you're right. It's just a nickel.
Worth a nickel.
Yeah, just let it rain nickels until it's not. Anyway, we're really learning a lot over here. But we have to rewind before Bennett, the parent.
I like your therapist, actually.
She's actually unbelievable. And she's not the only therapist I've ever had, but she's, like, a little bit, like, tough shit, like,
somebody who just sits back and says, just let the thing fucking happen. Yeah. Like, sometimes
Fran, if you're
that's
listening
what
to
you
this,
need.
like, I like that you're a little salty. I like that about you. No,
amazing.
she's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, okay, we have to rewind because we're here with Bennett today, the parent. But let's get back to baby Bennett growing up in Texas.
Yeah.
You grew up in rural Texas?
I was born in Kerrville, which is actually the part of Texas that was recently impacted by all of the traumatic flooding.
Horrible.
Shout out to my home state and thinking about all the people there. No, so I was born in kind of a rural part of Texas, but then we moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area when I was about 3.
Yeah.
And I spent from 3 until when I left for college at 16 in Fort Worth, basically. But I grew up in a small town outside of Fort Worth called White Settlement.
That's the name of a place?
It's the name of a place.
Okay. Texas, you never cease to amaze.
I know. At one point in time, White Settlement and Fort Worth were 2 legitimately separated cities, dating back to the time when Texas was its own country.
Sure.
Before it was part of the U.S., Fort Worth was a fort, a military fort, and White Settlement was where all the white people who were not in the military lived, where they settled outside of the fort. They were very creative with their names back then, so they called it the White Settlement. And then as, civilization progressed, it just continued to be called White Settlement, and to this very day, it is still called White Settlement. You can look it up. They tried to change the name in 2004 via ballot initiative, and it
was like, no.
failed.
Wow.
Which is wild.
How white is it there?
Very. Although increasingly less so, as Fort Worth has swallowed it up in terms of metropolitan area. You can't really tell where it begins and where Fort Worth ends, except that while you're in White Settlement, you feel like you've stepped back into the 1950s in a lot of ways. It was very white when I was growing up. I think it is less so now, but still, it's Texas.
Enough to keep the name.
Yes, enough to keep the name.
And
unfortunately.
Your parents together growing up? Were they together growing up?
They were together. They got a divorce right after I graduated high school. Literally the day after my high school graduation is when my dad announced that he was filing for divorce. So that was fun. Yep.
Thanks, Dad. Do you think he was waiting for you to be done?
He didn't intend on doing it that day, but my mom figured out that he had made all these plans to leave, and she confronted him, and so he had to give it up.
She forced his hand.
Yes. It was also Mother's Day.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a flair for drama in the family.
Well, like I said, I don't think that was not his original timing. That is the only grace I will give him in that scenario, is that wasn't when he planned to do it, but it's when it happened. Yeah. Fuck. It was a really fun way to end high school with a bang. Yeah, for sure. Nothing like being about to go to college and suddenly have to refile all of your financial aid paperwork and stuff because suddenly you're part of a single parent family.
Wow.
Yeah, way to go.
Jeez, Dad. Okay, so and what did they? So up until that point, were both of your parents working outside of the home?
Yes, my dad was in the Army National Guard as a career member all the way up until he retired when he was in his early 60s, and my mom was a public school teacher. And then after 20-something years of public school teaching, she became a lawyer. And she is now, and to this day, still practicing. She's a practicing lawyer with no plans of retiring.
But I kind of love that.
67 years old and just started a new practice, a new joint venture practice with a colleague of hers because she didn't want to practice by herself anymore.
What kind of law?
She does criminal law. She primarily, also some family and some child custody adoption type stuff, but primarily criminal defense. She was a county prosecutor for a number of years.
Wow.
And now practices on the defense side.
Okay, so how old were you?
She's tough.
Yeah, well, I fucking
She's tough.
bet.
She was being a career educator and elementary school age kids too. So you got to have a certain personality to be able to
Back to the psychos
wrangle,
we were just talking about.
To wrangle elementary school age kids. And then she's got a real serious teacher face. She's my mom is, you don't mess around with my mom.
You want her in your corner and you don't want to be on the other side.
For sure. Her teacher stare will send shivers down your spine. But she's also, she's never met a stranger. Everyone loves my mom. She's not that scary, but you don't want to cross her. So she makes a good attorney because she, when she looks you in your eyes and tells you the truth, you believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Shout out, Mom.
Shout out, Mom. She was all the great things that I've done in my life have probably been because of some inspiration from her.
Well, you are also a lawyer, so.
I am also a lawyer, yeah. She was a teacher, and then she always told me I was going to be a teacher, and I was like, I'm never going to be a teacher, and then I became a teacher. I taught high school for a while in New York before law school, and then she went to law school, and I was like, maybe I want to go to law school. So like I'm following. It just didn't take me that long to figure out I didn't like teaching all that much.
That's a really hard gig. I think about that all of the time when I think about all the amazing things that the teachers at my son's school do.
Yeah.
And
shout out teachers.
It's just
absolutely the hardest job I ever had.
Mind-boggling. Okay, pretty traditional for him, and your mom was a teacher, you know, a lot of that time. For both of them, like pretty traditional roles in terms of professions and that sort of thing.
Very like lower middle class, like white suburb, you know.
Were you having dinner together every night sort of thing? You're an only child, right?
I'm an only child. No, I don't remember doing that a lot because my mom, for most of my childhood, was in some kind of graduate school. Like she's a teacher, but she has like 2 master's degrees in education and was on her way to getting a doctorate when she decided to go to law school instead. Like she didn't like to sit still.
Yeah, I can relate.
And is definitely a Capricorn, overachiever type person. And so I think of her like a shark. You know how sharks just don't get to stop moving?
I think they die if they stop.
I feel like that's kind of like my mom in a lot of ways. Like she's always really busy. So she was doing a lot of like grad school type stuff.
Yeah.
And so my dad was staying home with me a lot in the evenings when she was doing that after work.
Nice.
So she was like on the grind.
And you've said before in different places that you feel like nobody ever put pressure on you to be a certain kind of kid, right?
No, I was really blessed to have 2 parents who... I didn't grow up in a really religious household, so I didn't have a lot of like dogma sort of directing my parents' values, their value system. My mom being an educator, and she taught gifted and talented kids, like that was her specialization, and so she was into, you know, like being creative and expressing yourself and encouraging kids to like be their best versions of themselves. So as a kid, anything that I did to express myself, whether it was like how I wanted to dress or how I wanted my hair cut or whatever, they were on board. Like I didn't get a lot of like, no, girls don't do that kind of stuff. If anything, they would support me in trying to challenge those barriers when I found them outside of the house. Like when I didn't want to play softball after t-ball, I wanted to play baseball. Like all my boyfriends were going, you know, t-ball is mixed gender, and then the kids either go to softball or they go to baseball, and I wanted to play baseball. And my mom like went to bat for me with the Little League board, and they turned me down. They said, no, you have to play softball. But like she supported me in trying to challenge those norms.
Yeah.
And so it was like nice to know that at least in my house and with my parents, I never had to be different really than who I was.
And at that time, you're thinking who you are is sort of like archetypal tomboy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting because obviously I've only ever had like the experience that is mine, right? I've never lived as somebody assigned male at birth, but I do know that like generally in society, I think we give girls more latitude to express themselves in a wider band of gender expression than we do for boys.
Such a good point.
Like,
it's true.
We just accept, and that's changing. Like we just had the whole we had the whole nail polish conversation. It is growing, but I think there will just always be a narrower acceptable expression of masculinity than for femininity. And so, you know, I was sporty. I liked playing with the boys, like all the things that I really loved that made me more typical masculine in my gender expression just got categorized as tomboy things, and they were all completely acceptable.
Did anyone ever broach with you? And the reason why I'm asking is because I was a tomboy. I was like a Punky Brewster tomboy, I would say, in the sense that like similar to you, I wanted to be doing what the boys were doing. I died to wear my brother's hand-me-down like Lee jeans. They were the thing for me. And that was sort of fine up until a point. And then I feel like around puberty, I started getting comments from older relatives being like, "Are you gay? Like, are you a lesbian? Like, you're not talking about like, boys?" What? And it just...
You're like, what does that have to do with the fact that I like to do whatever?
Yeah, except I think what it was is how they were asking was mean.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't.
It made you think that it would be wrong.
It would be wrong, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
imagine a universe where instead that conversation, A, wasn't happening at all, and if it was like, you can be into whoever you want to be into. Like, we're fine in this house. Like,
Yeah.
do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it was always from,
Imagine
like,
that.
older relatives. They're all dead now. I feel pretty fine. Bye. Feel pretty fine. Like, whatever. But, like, just like, well, why don't you talk about boys? Like, why aren't you da-da-da? And it's like, I'm 5'10" at Jewish school. Like, what do you want from me? Nobody's going to be into me, and I'm not into these shrimpy little dudes. It doesn't mean I don't like guys. It's just...
Did they not see Clueless? Like,
I know.
What is with guys these days? Like, it's a very rational point of view for any teenage girl to take. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
It's funny though. I feel like I got some of that from some of my girlfriends. I feel like as I got older and approached like puberty and then my teenage years, there was more pressure to hang out with more girls than guys. Just socially, that becomes the way of it.
Yeah.
And the only acceptable way to spend time with the opposite sex is if you're dating them.
Yeah.
Which is like,
Yeah.
why? It's weird. It starts to become this like unspoken rule. And so you're like, oh, well, I guess if I want to like talk to and hang out with these guys, I have to go out with them. And you start like shifting how you think about them, right? So I got pressure from other girls. Like one of the worst days of my childhood distinctly is the day that I had to start wearing a bra to school. I like literally cried, and then for probably 6 months after that started to be a thing and that I had to do, I would wear it up until I left the house, and then as soon as I got to school I would take it off, and then I would just put it on right before I got back home because I was so like weirded out by it, but I also didn't want to be different than my friends. Like, it suddenly made me different.
That's what I was going to ask you, is like what that was bringing up for you emotionally. It's just that you didn't want to be different from your guy friends.
Yeah, because I was like, this is stupid. Like, why do I have to do this? They don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Why do I have to do this?
It wasn't yet like this doesn't feel right because this doesn't feel like this should be part of my experience, or that it wasn't that.
It wasn't that sophisticated.
Yeah.
No, because you got to think about, like, I feel like when adults try to project themselves into the minds of like trans kids, you also have to remember that they're still just kids.
Yeah.
And so like their ability to comprehend or be like self-aware really about any of it is miraculous in and of itself, frankly. And so I think for me, it mostly just felt like I don't like being different in this way.
Yeah.
And so it was more like those folks that started to pressure me. I coped with the fact that I knew I wasn't gender normative by almost always visibly dating boys. Like I won't say over-sexualized, because sexualized implies that there was like sex going on, and it was really just like more like sexualized in the way that like
gender normalized
teenagers and pre-teenagers do. I sort of overemphasized that part of my like personality or my public personality in order to counteract the fact that I was obviously like not a straight girl.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about being trans yet. At that point, I just thought I wasn't a straight girl.
Well, and also, like, did the vocabulary really exist then?
No.
Certainly not the way it does now.
No, certainly not the way it does now. And I feel like unless your experience as a trans person is you feel like you're in the wrong body and you've always felt like that, because some people do have that experience, they do articulate that experience. Even little kids will articulate it just that way, right?
Yeah.
They feel it that strongly. That's not everybody's experience, and it wasn't my experience. And in a time when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have all this like exposure to gender being a spectrum.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking about gender in that way. No. If anything, we were still trying to like move forward with like binary gender equality. Nobody was talking about anything more
beyond
than
that.
Yeah.
It's like we only have capacity for so much, guys.
Yeah, we were not ready for those conversations yet. And so I didn't have the vocabulary for that. I just thought I was a lesbian.
Yeah. Well, and also to your point about like society giving girls more like room to explore and whatever, there's also that whole trope of like, oh, I fooled around with like my roommate in college, and like that's kind of fine for girls.
Serious.
It's like just like I was just like, And everyone's like, oh, of course that was part of your experience. But if we would never joke about that with guys, right?
No.
There isn't that same trope on the other end.
Well, because, I mean, a lot of the things that we're probably going to talk about today probably boil at some point down to just misogyny. Like, that's just the answer in a lot of cases. It's just misogyny.
Yeah. You know, we're actually going to go. Bennett and I are going to go hang out. The answer is misogyny. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of great lies that have been perpetrated on humanity, but like a lot of the things that we talk about culturally about differences between men and women, I think some of those like cultural truths are some of the greatest lies that have ever been perpetrated on humanity.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about this before when we chatted before you came, just about how we wouldn't necessarily need to focus the way we do on what our gender pronouns were if the gender pronouns themselves weren't so limiting to how you're allowed to live.
Yeah, if they weren't expected to be some sort of prescriptive of how you're supposed to behave.
I would love to live a life as a he, him.
You mean with the privileges? Yes.
Of the, like, I mean, I'm being flippant, of course, but like...
No, it's real.
But like, wouldn't it be nice to be a he, him,
if I were a boy, Beyonce said it best.
Right. Beyonce, our Lord and Savior Beyonce, she did say it best. But like, I do think about that, and I hadn't really ever thought about that in the depth until I became a parent.
Yep.
So, yeah, wow.
Yeah. I mean, if it were that easy, that's the thing is that people, I feel like a lot of people who don't understand transness probably think of it in this more like sort of fleeting, like it's a phase, or people like it's something that's like can be so like turned off and turned on, or could be changed, or so like flippant. And I feel like if you really question like, okay, so then if that's the case, could you really just say tomorrow, start calling me he, him, and live your life in a masculine presenting way and feel just as like whole with yourself? If you feel like you could do that and answer yes, then, well, one, you're a trans person. But two, it's like, no, obviously that wouldn't be it, because you have your own, like, I think a lot of cis people just forget that they have their own gender expression too. Yeah. They just, like, because you don't have to think about it because you're part of the norm. You're like, if you're relatively conformative to the norm within certain boundaries, then you probably live your life without really questioning the fact that you do make choices about your gender and your gender expression, your gender identity all the time. All the time. You just don't think about it in the same way trans people do, because you're not thinking about it in the context of how you were told you were supposed to do it versus how you want to do it. 100%. But it's like we all make those choices.
So let's go back to our little lesbian.
Yes.
How old were you?
Oh my gosh.
How old were you? And what was
she went through so much.
What was your name pre-transition? Am I allowed to ask that?
So that's not usually a question we tell people to ask. That. It's called a dead name. Culturally.
Don't ask that. We can talk about little Bennett. Don't even answer that.
Well, I will say that Bennett was a part of my name even pre-transition, and so in many ways I have always been Bennett. A name is a gift you can return if you don't like it. It's not a part of who you are. I was named after my great-grandmother. She was a lovely person, but she was not me. I was also one of those people that for some reason I was assigned a nickname immediately upon birth. Like, that there's some people who it's like you go by the name we gave you, and some people who it's like, well, we gave you a name, but we also started calling you something else immediately. Yeah. And it's like that name that people call you ends up being more aligned with your personality than the name that you were given. Yes. It was very much like that, too. I was given a name, but then I also had a nickname, and my nickname became way more my personality than my given name. Yeah. So, like, when I transitioned and it came time to think about, like, letting that name go, I never had a problem with it because it had never been you anyway. It was never mine. That's exactly right.
But that name, that point about the nickname is so interesting because it's totally true.
Isn't it totally true, though? It's totally true.
Yes.
It's totally true. And maybe it's just because you grow into the thing that people call you, and so, like, if you call somebody this, they'll behave like, I don't know. But
it's also, like, if you ask people why they do that, for, like, the parents, why they're doing that, they're often honoring somebody with the name, but, like, they don't really like it that much. Or they want to give their kid options or whatever, but, like, Yeah, if you're immediately going to the nickname, it's really just what you wanted to name your kid.
Yeah, exactly. And the other name is just like, that's just there for, it's a placeholder.
Yeah.
No, I changed my name. So my first name is Bennett now. It used to be my last name, but I started going by Bennett as my first name about 10 years before I even transitioned, because I started playing women's rugby in my 20s in Seattle. And I joined this really amazing team, and there happened to be a girl on the team who already had my name. And she was already a member of the team, and they were like, well, we cannot have two of you.
Yeah.
We cannot have two of you by the same name. It's too confusing, so pick something else. And I was right on the spot, and I said, well, just call me Bennett. And they were like, great. So then I started going by Bennett, and then everybody started calling me that, and then I started using that as how I introduced myself. So when I changed my name, it really wasn't much of a switch.
That's kind of perfect,
yeah.
actually.
And I was very genderqueer anyway, so ditching the girly first name for just the last name was not a big deal.
But I also feel like it was kind of a gift from the universe to give you because I would feel a lot of pressure. It is like naming your child. It's naming yourself. Like, it's a consequential decision.
Yes.
So the fact that kind of the pressure was taken off of you a little bit, and you got to sit in the name and, feel like this was you.
Yep.
Lucky.
Yep. And I got to take my mom's maiden name, which is her last name that she goes by now, as my last name.
Yeah.
So that on paper, she and I appear to be related, and I am no longer tied to my dad and his last name. Which when they got divorced, I was like, well, that would be my choice anyway. But I wasn't a child; I was an adult, and at that time, I wasn't going to change my name. So gave me a new opportunity to restart in terms of which family I align myself with as well.
I love that.
And now I'm passing that name on to my son.
And is it Kaspar or Williams? Kaspar. I was going to ask you how to say it.
Like the ghost. It's just spelled weird.
Kaspar-Williams. Bennett Kaspar-Williams. It is a good name.
It's got a nice ring to it, right?
Strong name. It's like a literary name.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Or a lawyer who's going to come, do lawyery things.
Yep, gonna come get you.
Okay, so let's go back to little lesbian Bennett, who you're graduated from high school.
Out of there. 16. I was a young one.
Wow, you graduated at 16. Okay.
Yep.
So you graduated at 16. Your dad says, bye, I'm out. And what is next for you on your trajectory, and where are you, like, mental space-wise at that time? Because 16 to graduate and, like, go on to that next chapter in the midst of a parental divorce, and you're figuring out all of this stuff about your personhood.
Well, I was there are two different times here. So I left, but yes, I was still a teenager. So I left high school when I was 16. I went to college at 16, and then after 2 years, I graduated from the program that I was in that let me leave high school early to go to college. So my high school graduation was still at 18 like it normally would have been, but it was really graduation from my first 2 years
like
of
an
college.
associate sort of something.
I went to a special program called the Texas Academy of Mathematics and Science. It is still in existence.
Very fucking serious.
Shout out to my TAMS brethren.
Wow.
Yes, it's for gifted and talented high school students to leave high school early and enter college 2 years early, with the idea that those kids stay in state to finish their college education and then keep the talent in the state. That's the rationale for doing it. Because if you go there, you automatically get accepted into a Texas state school for the rest of your undergrad following the 2 years. And so it's like cheap 2 years of credit. Most of my friends that went there became doctors, like many of them did. Almost all the ones I can think of did, actually.
So, extremely clever being from an early age. Interesting that your mom also sort of specialized in that population.
Yeah. Well, she knew how to nurture me, I think, which was really key. But it was the first time in my life that I was ever the small fish in the big pond.
Yeah.
I went from being like a big fish in a small pond, and not to brag, no shade, but I was definitely like probably the smartest kid in my grade, and consistently at the top of my class without having to try very hard. Like, it just was my life in a not challenging Texas public school. And then I went to this school with all these kids who were fucking brilliant. There were some of them who were like 12 and 13 years old.
Oh my God.
Who had skipped school even within the years that we were in school. Like my roommate, my second year was 14. Like it was insane. I wasn't that good at the math part or the science part, it turns out, at that level, but I was like good enough to stay in. It got me the hell out of white settlement,
which was, I'm sure,
on the top
agenda.
priority. Oh yeah. Once I realized I was queer and I was like, I want to be actively queer. I don't want to be a sad closeted. I mean, no offense, being in the closet is great when you choose to be in there like we are now, but no, like being in the closet, it has its advantages. I did get a lot of sleepovers that I probably wouldn't have had, had I not been in the closet.
Sure.
But, the trade-off is that you get to live your authentic life. And I was like, oh, there's a way for me to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Sign me up. We're done. So I did everything I could to get into TAMS. I barely made it. Made the first C of my life in calculus-based physics and thought I was going to lose my mind. Learned a lot of life lessons, made a lot of lifelong friends, and then I left and went to Austin and finished undergrad in Austin.
And what a place to be. If you're going to be in Texas and you're going to be queer, it's got to be Austin, right?
Austin. It's got to be Austin. Maybe Dallas or Houston if you had to, but Austin for sure. And Austin was the first time that I really felt like I found my home planet. I guess TAMS was to some extent, but in terms of like a city, Austin was the first time I ever lived someplace where I was like, oh, I can like be here and just be myself and not have to worry about, I don't know, any of being beaten up in the parking lot after school like I was in White Settlement.
You were.
I was. Oh yeah, it happened to a classmate of mine, a boy. So he was a gay boy, which is way more punishable and way more offensive, as we've discussed.
Misogyny.
Misogyny than being a gay girl. But still, I was like, I'm not trying to like sign myself up for all of this. I was already getting people putting their hands on me and sexually harassing me and stuff in like marching band. Those people are like degenerates.
Marching band is full of degenerates?
Yeah. Go figure. I mean, everybody saw American Pie.
That's actually a really good point. That one time at band camp.
That one time at band camp is a real thing. But also, like, band camp in the 90s, there was some mild to moderate sexual harassment going on, for sure.
I had no idea.
Oh, my God.
I'm not musically inclined whatsoever. Maybe that's for the best, it sounds like.
Yes. But there was, like, a lot of that, like, aggressive sort of bro-like culture, and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here.
And was there something, when you say you wanted to sort of like live authentically and out loud and gay or queer in Austin, were there like things that you were really looking forward to doing or experiences that you were looking forward to having?
Oh man, well, being able to like date and having people to date was a big one.
That feels like a pretty big one.
That's a pretty big one. I mean, when I was in Fort Worth, I was like meeting people on sketchy, chat rooms on Planet Out, which if you're a millennial or Gen X queer person, you'll remember Planet Out. It was like a very early sort of social media place for queer people on the internet. And so I was meeting people I had no business meeting and driving places I had no business driving, trying to like find other queer community because there just was none. So I was really excited to just be around more gays because there definitely are in Austin, especially in the college environment. I was looking forward to being able to hold my girlfriend's hand in public and not get slapped upside the head, which is what happened to me in Fort Worth. Outside of a coffee shop in downtown Fort Worth, which was the most progressive place to hang out when I was a kid.
You were just holding a girl's hand.
Yes, and some man walking by just smacked me really hard upside the back of my head, and then just kept walking past me. And a friend of mine, a guy friend I was with at the time, tried to run off and go was going to go beat the guy down. I said, no, it's not worth it. Yeah. But yes, I got hands put on me, like,
just for being yourself.
Just for being myself. So I was looking forward to getting away from that. And I just wanted to be like further away from home.
Yeah, dude.
Get some space to grow. And it became, it was there where I met my first trans masculine person. And I was fascinated by him, absolutely fascinated by him. I did not identify with his experience because he was one of those
Born
in
the
my wrong body.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was his experience. And as soon as he was able to articulate that, that was his expression. And I thought, that's not me, but this whole taking hormones and like changing your body, and he got really hot, and I was like, whoa, he's like really hot now. And that also confused me, and I was like, why do I feel like that? Do I just want to be him? I don't know. It took me way too long to like chew on that idea of like, why was I so fascinated by that experience before I realized like, oh, I'm just trans.
Right.
I just am.
And also he was hot.
Well, he was hot. I've tried to look him up so many times, and I can't find him in the real world. So, on the off chance that Elliot, that you hear this and you somehow magically know it's me, find me on social media, because I would love to thank you for opening my eyes to this reality.
I love the idea of that type of misconnection. Like, do you ever read those misconnection things?
Yeah, of course.
But this one's a real fucking jigsaw puzzle, right?
Yeah, it's a real jigsaw.
Elliot's got to figure out who Bennett is. Well, were you going by Bennett yet at that point?
No,
not
wasn't.
yet. So I mean,
no, there's no way. There's no way.
If there's a trans Elliot listening, you just contact me and we will put those dots together, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to get this episode specifically out to the community.
Yes, please find me. No, it would be nice to be able to connect with him to say like thank you for being so authentic in 2004.
Yeah.
Because that was a long ass time ago.
Yeah. And more importantly,
in so
Elliot,
many ways,
we hope you're doing well, Elliot.
Yes, also I hope you're well.
Because, well, especially...
And still hot, because I'm sure you are.
I'm sure you are. Because, not to gloss over the fact that, like, being a trans person is fucking hard.
Yes.
And it is dangerous.
Especially now.
Yeah, especially now, which is a crazy thing to have to say.
In some ways, I think almost more dangerous now than it was in 2004. And I think that's because in 2004, you might still be worried that if somebody found out you were trans, that they might beat you up or try to kill you. But there wasn't this cultural incentive to try to like root trans people out, and it wasn't a part of the everyday conversation. Yes, there was no witch hunt, and people weren't the like trans investigators that they are now. Nowadays it's like people just out there on the street feel like they can tell who is and who is not trans, which, by the way, if you think you can tell, you can't. You can't. I know so many trans people that you would never clock. Like, it's not a thing.
And dare I ask, why does it matter?
Also, why does it matter? Just let people be.
I mean, maybe it's like some sort of, I don't know.
I feel like people feel like it puts them in closer proximity to power when they feel like they have the ability to other people. And so, like, being able to say, like, oh, I can tell is like a way to
That's
align
a useful
yourself
question for all of us to be asking ourselves.
Against the other.
If you have the instinct. It's just like, well, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Carrie or whoever else. That is a really interesting point.
Yeah.
So you're in Austin. You are having an opportunity to finally like get out of Dodge, live the life you want to live. You are dating women.
Did I. Yes. Unfortunately, only like one.
Okay.
I fell victim of the lesbian curse of like being in monogamous relationships, like serial monogamy. And so I spent the entirety of my 20s in a string of like long-term to semi-long-term monogamous relationships.
Sure.
When I should have just been dating.
I mean, I think about that all the time. I was too scared to date at all, so I just like was being scared. But I do think now, like, I should have just like fucked around a lot more.
Yeah.
I was too busy being scared.
Well, and I was too busy pretending to be married.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know, we all have our foibles.
Sometimes for survival. I will say that being a person living on the margins, especially when you're socioeconomically on the margins because you're like a broke recent college grad or like whatever reason, you end up being in situations where you have to like cohabitate and sort of exaggerate your connections to other people for survival reasons. But if you can avoid it, date more in your 20s, kids.
Date more in your 20s. I think that's great advice.
Yeah. One thing that I wish I would have had from a like stereotypical masculine sort of adolescence and young adulthood would have been the permission to do that instead of the cultural pressure to like be in a relationship all the time.
Lock somebody down.
Yeah.
So what happens after Austin?
What happened after Austin? I worked on the 2004 presidential campaign. Not the presidential campaign. During that season, I worked for MoveOn.org to help support the John Kerry campaign against George Bush. I went to Florida to work on the election, and then when the election was over, I moved to Seattle. I packed up everything I could fit into my little Kia Spectra hatchback and sold everything else and drove to Seattle. And I moved in with a woman that I had met on the campaign who was 16 years my senior and who was in a long-term committed relationship, but who had an affair with me. And she convinced me that there were more opportunities for me in Seattle than in Austin, which she was right about, and enabled me to move up there and start anew up there.
So you were the other person. Did you know you were the other person?
I knew.
But like 16 years, there's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah.
But it sounds like
yes.
The good we can take from that is it sounds like somebody who was older and had more experience was looking out for you and your advancement.
Yes.
Also clearly looking out for themselves in terms of having a like sweet side piece. But there was some care there as well, though.
I was very fortunate to, at least if I was going to make those decisions, I chose the right people who also helped like move me forward in a positive direction.
Yeah.
And that enabled me to move to Seattle. I started working as a political consultant, which is what I really wanted to do. Then I realized I didn't like doing that as much as I thought I was going to. It's a gnarly business, but the thing I really disliked the most about it was the election cycle and how everything goes from being like completely dead to absolutely batshit crazy on this like repeating calendar. Yeah. And the life that I was having to live in those last couple of months before every election was like so banana town that it was not good for my mental health. And I also didn't felt like I was being pulled in the wrong direction or like to make decisions that I wasn't that happy about. And so I left that and I became a barista like you do in Seattle.
I mean, what a place to be a barista. That's the Olympics of baristaing.
It is for sure. I probably the most fun, that and working at an ice cream place, Amy's Ice Cream, shout out Amy's in Austin in college, 2 best jobs I ever had. If it were not for money and I could just choose a job and it's like, of all the things you've ever done, pick something to do and like do it for the rest of forever, it'd probably be one of those 2 things. Crazy enough.
I have a friend who was a waitress for a very long time and she was fucking good at it and she loved being a waitress. And, she had kids and life happened to her and, she's just like, I can't really be a waitress anymore. But it is the thing that she knows that she was excellent at and she loved. Yeah. It's like...
Sometimes there's something about being in the service industry and especially in food service that if it's something that you're like good at and you're into, you really get into a vibe with it. Yeah. And in terms of like just being an enjoyable job, working at the bike shop was probably a close third. Like those jobs I had in my early 20s that I was doing to like sustain myself as a student or a new grad or a young adult who's trying to figure out what the fuck is next, like those are the jobs that are probably the most fun.
I think you might be my newest useful friend because you can clearly sling a mean scoop, you can make a good coffee, and you can talk to me about training wheels at some point.
Yeah. Training wheels, you absolutely don't need them.
I know the balance bike thing, we're doing it, but like...
It worked. I taught my son how to ride a bike in like 10 minutes.
Even better, you can come do that.
Yes, I can help you with that part. It was very easy to do. You just put a towel around them. It's very easy to do.
I saw that on the internet, but okay,
you'll
come over one day.
It worked. I'll show you the video I took of me doing it with my son.
Great.
It's like, go, Huddy, go. Yes, so one of my favorite quotes ever is from the TV show Queer as Folk. Yes. I don't know if you've ever seen it. The original Queer as Folk. Yeah. Not the British one, the US one. In the original US Queer as Folk, the lesbian character Lindsay said in one episode where she had been acting out of character in this way that she was a bisexual, but she was in this lesbian relationship. And she had this brief affair with a man. And people were, like, shocked to find out that she was still, like, attracted to men after all of these years of living with a woman, even though she's always said, I'm bisexual. So when somebody questioned her about it, she said, my house has many rooms and I inhabit only a few.
I like that.
And I feel like that is a very accurate description of my like life experience, because there have been like many things that I have done.
Yes.
Many things that I've done and many hats that I've worn, and I don't do all of those things anymore, but they're still there.
Yeah. And do you ever
Somewhere.
think, like, do you ever visit those rooms in your mind?
I do in my mind frequently, and in practice sometimes even still. Like, I'll still break out the bike and, you know, go for a ride and mess around with it before I have to get on and rekindle some of that in my mind, yeah.
And for your husband, Malik, like, he didn't know you when you were working at the bike shop, right? So is there ever, sometimes I feel like when my husband sees some part of me that's from, like, predates him, he's always very, like, amused. Like,
Yeah.
oh, look at this, because it's a little new, it's a little different. Do you guys ever, it's like, he must be like, there's so many chapters to Bennett.
Yes.
He's like, where are we reading from today?
Yes, I think that's a great way to describe it. And I would say he might be surprised in, like, the thing I tell him that, like, I can do. He might be like, oh, that's not a thing I would expect.
Right.
But I don't think he would be surprised about me saying, like, oh, I have this random skill, because I have so many other random ones that, like,
He's like, what? Sure.
Yeah, I could probably make something up and he would believe me, because at this point, like, the number of things you would have to pick from, like, I do my own tattoos, I like can paint a mean wall mural, I bake a cake, I can like make
like two
food
truths and a lie.
miniatures out of like Sculpey clay. Yeah.
Are all of those true?
All of those are true.
Oh my God, I thought I was looking for like a two truths and a lie.
I played drums in a rock band when I was in high school and in middle school, like, and in some of college. Like, there are a lot of different things that I can do theoretically.
This is why I was like, I want to talk about obviously your experience as a trans person, but also like you are so many things.
I'm a screenwriter. I'm a lawyer. I'm an activist. I'm a dad. I know. I have a lot of hobbies. Every time I see something else, like the other day I said this about sewing. I said to my husband, oh my God, I wish I knew how to sew, because I'm really into buying these vintage Ralph Lauren shirts and then cropping them.
Yeah, cute.
And I really wish I had a sewing machine so I could properly hem them. And he goes, babe, you do not need another hobby. And then he quickly changes the subject.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
my husband's like that too.
To him, he's like, we don't need more shit in the house.
The storage solutions can only go so far, Bennett.
If it requires equipment, it's a no. We have to cycle out a hobby then to bring in a new one.
I am you in this regard, massively.
I just have gay audacity. I think it really boils down to like that gifted kid energy plus gay audacity. If I see something, I'll probably try to do it.
Yeah. I think I just have audacity, just the straight kind.
That's fine. It could be honorary gay audacity, because I feel like most straight women don't have that much audacity. They need more.
Yeah. I'm pretty audacious, much to the chagrin of many people who have to keep up with all the things. You know who else is very audacious? Erica Curtis.
That's why I love her.
Yeah.
She's more audacious than me. The first time I ever met Erica, she came barreling into the CrossFit place talking about how she had almost gotten into a fight with a lady in the parking lot over a parking space. And I was like, I don't know who this lady is, but I want to be friends with her. Like, she's got a lot of personality, and I like that.
Talk about, similar to your mom, somebody you want in your corner.
Yeah, 100%.
She's a good one 100%. To have in your corner.
Yes, more of us need to have the courage to just be ourselves. I feel like if more people were audacious, then then normativity starts to...
Well, what I was thinking about when you were talking about, like, when you were really passionate about doing something, how you get in your groove. And then I, of course, went on this tangent in my head of like, well, could you imagine if everyone got compensated by how passionate they were about their job rather than like how good? I mean, I think passion often comes with skill, but like imagine if we compensated handsomely teachers who were passionate about teaching. Could
What a
imagine what
novel
teachers we would
concept.
have?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they do that in places like Finland. They probably do that in other countries, and we need to learn from that. I was thinking, as you were saying that, I was thinking about the places where they pay a basic minimum living wage to everybody. Like a universal...
UBI.
Yeah, UBI. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that thing called? UBI. So that if you have UBI, then more people are empowered to be the best barista they could freaking be and be a rock star at it because they don't have to worry about making rent.
Okay, wait, so we have to get back to Seattle. So
Yes.
Seattle, you leave political consulting.
Yeah.
And you go and you be a barista.
And a bike mechanic.
And a bike mechanic.
Or a bike salesperson. I worked in a bike shop, so I did mostly sales, but also some mechanics.
And you're with somebody, or at least in the start of this journey in Seattle, you're with somebody 16 years your senior.
Yeah, that didn't last all that long after I got to Seattle for reasons that might go along with the fact that there was a 16-year age difference between the two of us. I started dating somebody who was younger than me, one of the few times I've ever done that. She and I are still friends to this day.
Nice.
One of the better decisions, one of the better long-term relationships that 20-year-olds shouldn't get into. She was definitely one of the better decisions. We became best friends in that way that, like, you only can when you go through, like, just this shit of being in your early 20s.
Yeah.
Which is really like a gross time to be alive.
This really...
like, it's just gross.
Foul, yeah.
And we don't really talk about that enough culturally, like, how terrible your 20s are. Like, just full stop.
Well, we romanticize them heavily, right?
We romanticize them heavily, and we don't talk about the fact that, like, your brain isn't finished developing, you're still going through a lot of physiological changes, you're, like, in a weird place in terms of, like, legal and financial adulthood, but still a lot of, like, emotional and developmental adolescence.
Yeah.
If you add, like, queerness onto that and sort of, like, delayed adolescence, and then, you know, on top of that, it just, like, your 20s are messy.
They are messy. That's the only word for it.
And I'm so blessed that she and I are still friends because we are a connection to that time in our life that was, like, really incredibly just messy.
Yeah. But don't you think it's so important, or you must because you guys are still friends?
Yes.
To have somebody in your life that knew you during the mess.
Yes.
There's something about that, and I've mentioned this a bunch recently, so everyone's going to be sick of me. But I saw my friends from college and after college recently for the first time in a while, and I just saw them and burst into tears.
Yeah.
Because of the way that somebody sees you and sees where you are now relative to
well,
because
they've seen you at some of the times when you were most worthy of judgment. That's my feeling. I'm like, and she and I, like, had our relationship was really good, and then it ended really terribly, and there was, like, a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of messiness around it, and I'm so proud that we were able to, like, salvage a friendship because there was, like, so much there. But yeah, it's just like you have no business, like, doing any of that, and we made it through. But it did precipitate me feeling like I needed to leave Seattle. Because sometimes when you're in your early 20s, especially when you're in a small community like the lesbian community, and then the rugby community was even smaller, sometimes things get messy and you're like, you know what? I need to go somewhere else.
Yes. Is that how you ended up here?
That's how I ended up. No, then I went to New York.
Oh, right. Because you said you were teaching before law school.
Yeah.
You loaded up the hatchback once again.
No, I flew. I didn't even have a car anymore at that point. I was a Seattle bike kid.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah. I existed on two wheels in a city with hills like you wouldn't believe.
You must have been in
my 20s. I was in really good shape, and I never appreciated myself in that body.
Of course.
That's another thing I wish I could go back and tell myself as a young person is, like,
same.
No matter how you feel about yourself right now relative to what you think you could be, you will always look back at yourself right now and think that, like, this was awesome.
You're so right.
You got me all emotional thinking about Seattle in my 20s.
I often say, like, I wish I could tell myself X. Like, I wish I could tell myself to just, like, lighten the fuck up. It's not so serious.
It's not that serious.
Like,
it's not that serious.
The lion isn't chasing you. Like,
no.
Go get drunk with your friends.
Yes.
Like, it's okay. You don't have to be the grown-up that you think you're supposed to be just because you're a certain age. Like, just you don't have any real responsibilities yet. Just chill the fuck out. Well, you know what? To your point earlier about, like, thank God for the internet and its ability to show people lots of different ways to parent and to live, I think it's also true for younger people. And I have a very small, like, sample that I'm testing this hypothesis on, but we have this amazing au pair. She's 24. The things that she thinks about in terms of her place in the world and how to balance, like, her responsibility to her family and to be true to herself and the things she cares about. I was not talking to myself like that.
No.
And I do think that the way in which the world has opened up and allowed us to see each other earlier on is, like, giving younger people the confidence to have those conversations with themselves.
And the tools, like, literally use the words in front of them and model for them how to talk about these things. Not just, like, discuss these concepts in the abstract or, like, have these, like, heady conversations, like, actually show them.
Yeah.
I found the best example I see of this in, like, everyday culture is watching shows like Love Island.
Oh my God, yes.
I love to hate it, hate to love it. It's one of those things that I'm a part of the audience. I watch it. But I'm continually amazed at the level of awareness and, like, emotional skills that these kids in their for most part, most of them are in their early 20s, early to mid 20s, that they display in these shows and being able to talk to each other, because that just was not my...
Me neither.
That I don't know any 22-year-olds who talked like that.
Also, I don't know if you do this, but in my mind, when I watch shows like that, they are another species to me in so many levels, but their age, we're not living on the same planet. Like I can't, or if I'm watching an old movie with, like, Hugh Grant and he's my age now.
Yeah.
In my mind, he will always be older than me, even if the version of him I have, like, some age dissonance thing where it's just like, if I'm observing people in the world doing something that I'm not doing, I'm like, you must be older than me or on a different planet. You know what I mean? I can't describe it. It's very strange.
I think it's part of, like, I find myself constantly questioning, like, when am I going to wake up and feel like a grown up? Because I feel like most of the time in my head, I don't feel like I've ever changed, because the change happens, obviously you were the only one living with yourself. It happens so slowly you don't recognize it.
Yeah.
But, like, I forget that I am the grown-up. I keep waiting to, like, feel that way. But then I see shows like Love Island, and I'm like, oh, I'm definitely the grown-up.
I'm definitely grown-up.
Because all that y'all just spent all that energy arguing about, I would have been like, no fucking thank you. And I would have just gotten up and walked away.
Thrilled to be on my couch.
Yeah, and it would have been the rest of that conversation, like... You know, they have energy to get spun up about things that I just do not have the energy for anymore.
To be fair, I never did have the energy.
Well, I probably wouldn't have either.
I just never did. But it makes for great television.
Yeah.
But in terms of that,
but you do feel it. You're like, whoa, these kids are, like, from a different...
It's a different planet.
Operating. They have a different playbook.
Yeah.
But good for them. They seem to all be, like, fairly with it and, like, far more aware in so many ways than I was at the same age.
I am excited for them and worry for them.
Yes.
Is the best I can put it. But going back to your point about, like, feeling like an adult. Well, first, okay, let's fast forward to. So you go to New York, then you go to law school after teaching. Teaching is not it.
Teaching was not it.
And then you become a lawyer.
Became a lawyer.
And when do you get to LA?
For law school.
Okay, so you came to LA for law school and then liked LA enough to stay?
Yep, I went to law school actually in Irvine, UC Irvine, but I came to the, like, Southern California area for law school, and after my 3 years in Irvine, moved to LA, and I worked in the summers in LA and then came up here. So I've been in the greater LA area since 2011.
2011, and when does Malik enter the picture?
I met Malik in 2017.
The reason why I'm fast forwarding is because nothing makes me feel more both in awe and wonder and rooted in my adultness than when my kids need me.
Yes.
And, like, when they're puking or they're sick
and
or
you're
whatever.
Like, well, who's going to do it?
Yeah, right. And I'm like, I'm getting the puke bucket out for the first time, and I'm the one administering the puke bucket. Like, and I look around, like, I look at my life and I just say, it's me that they want to do this? Like, or even when I brought my son home from the hospital, I'm like, they're going to let me leave with this thing? I've never held a newborn before in my life.
Yeah.
Nothing has made me ever feel more like an adult than having a kid.
100%. 100%.
Now, okay, so let's get to this chapter. So you're a working lawyer at this point.
Yep.
When you meet Malik. Where did you guys meet?
On an app.
Okay.
On one of the gay specific, like, hookup. The classier of the gay hookup apps being Scruff and not Grindr. We did not meet on Grindr.
Scruff.
We met on
This is
Scruff.
an advertisement for Scruff. You are the
Yes.
classier grinder.
Yes, we met up on Scruff, and he just happened to be passing through the part of town that I lived in, which is random because I don't think we would have met. Our circles never would have overlapped otherwise, because we were living very different lives at that time. But we happened to geographically overlap long enough for him to come onto my grid, and he messaged me, and we spent at least 1 week, if not a couple of weeks, like, just messaging each other before we even met up. And the first time we met up, we went on a date. We didn't even just go straight to hooking up, which was the story for most of my romantic encounters at that point in time in my life. We went out on an actual date. He was the first man that I had ever, like, been on an adult date with, like a real date like that. Like, it was good. It was nice. I mean, I guess I'd been out on a couple of, like, casual dates, but he was the first. It was the first time I remember going out on a date with a man where I was like, oh, this is somebody that I could actually, like, be in a relationship with.
What was the
and,
filter?
Like, date more than that.
What was the filter? Like, what options had you clicked on the app for him to show? Like, were you looking for?
Well, I
What were
mean,
you
when I was pre-transition, I only dated women, and so I was like a queer identified woman. Once I went through transition and I started passing as male, gay men and queer men started to show interest in me and being attracted to me, and then that was the first time that I realized that men were truly an option. Because when I was, like, a masculine presenting cisgender woman, the men that were interested in me were not at all interesting to me.
Yeah.
It was like creepy straight men. Like, gay men weren't into me because I wasn't a man.
Yeah.
And straight men, most of them weren't into me because I was very butch. And the straight men that were into me really creeped me out. So it wasn't until I transitioned and I was like, I'm comfortable with myself. I'm happy with how I look. I was doing CrossFit with Erica and her husband 6 days a week. So I was looking
6 days a week. Oh my God.
I was looking really hot. I was, like, lifting weights a lot, very happy in my skin. Men started to show an interest in me and I was like, oh,
You were into it.
this is like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Well, it took me a while to figure out if I was into it enough to make it worth it.
Right.
Because as somebody who identifies as, like, very non-binary, and I do not see myself as a man in the way that, like, cis men are men.
Yeah.
That's not my gender identity. I still feel like they are different from me.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to be like, I mean, some of this I like, but the parts of it that, like, you get to do most of the time is not the fun part. It's the, like, do I like having conversations with you? Do I want to, like, spend time with you? Not the sex part. That part's great.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not enough to sustain interest. Do I like men? Do I have a capacity to like men beyond just that?
Right.
And it turns out I did.
Well, it turns out that was true for Malik.
Turns out that was true for Malik. That's true. That's true.
And turns out that's all that really matters.
Yeah, it's all that really matters. I wouldn't say it is a greater capacity because I don't know what the universe would hold globally, but I was very pleased to meet my husband. I actually tried not to date him. He was interested in dating me.
Hard to get.
It was the first time in my life where I was ever like, actually, no, I don't want to, like, I want to just, like, keep it very casual.
Yeah.
And he was fine with that, but he didn't go away, and I didn't chase him away. And then when I was ready, when I realized that, like, I wasn't going to stop wanting to hang out with him, it made it easy because I was like, okay, you're worth it.
Yeah.
And then once we started dating, we were both in our 30s.
Yeah, grown-ass people.
Yeah, grown-ass people who had been in relationships. He had been in a bunch of long-term relationships. He identifies as bi or as, like, queer. He had dated both men and women. So, like, we both had a lot of experiences around the board. And so it just felt like, okay, we can be serious about this. And we dated for a little over a year and then got engaged and got married like 3 months later. It was very fast.
Well, that is the thing, though, about doing all of this in your 30s is like you guys have lived a lot of life up until this point, and your picker has been refined
for sure.
And
thank God.
You know the red flags, you know the stuff, and it's just like, okay, like now we did it. Now we can move forward. Now I know that you've said, I can't remember. Is it prior to It was prior to transitioning that you said like you were not interested in being a parent.
No. Not really. Or I wasn't interested in carrying a child.
Okay.
I was interested in like the idea of parenting and being a parent figure, but I never had any interest, nor did I see myself being a person who would carry a child. I always dated women who, for the most part, were more feminine than I was.
Yeah.
And most of those were women who did have a strong desire to want to carry a child. Yeah. And so it was just like, if one of us would do it, it would be not me.
Right.
It not would it. Be whoever the other person happens to be that I choose to spend my life with. It won't be me that's doing the baby having.
Yeah.
And so then that just changed.
It just changed. And then for you and Malik, I think one of the things that I'm almost starstruck is the wrong word, but like the fact that you guys found each other and you're like life CVs seem to match up. So there's so much complexity in both of your stories.
It's true.
And I don't even know his full story. It's just kind of crazy. And the fact that it was like an app glitch sort of thing, it's just crazy to me that you guys actually found each other.
There's a lot of chance behind it. We also kind of overlap. Like, we were both also in New York at the same time for a little while. At the time I was in New York. He's from New York originally. So there was like, we had been in sort of some of the same places, but it's really a random miracle that we found each other. And you're right. Like, once you get to that age, you just know what you can put up with. And you also
realize
really
what marriage is, everybody.
It is.
It's like knowing what you can put up with.
Knowing what you can put up with. Like, I've lived with enough people. I've dated enough people. Yep. I know what I can work on and what I do not have any interest in working on. Yeah. And you are good enough. Like, this is the working material that we need to like move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes with maturity, because when you're younger, you're looking for somebody who is like
tick, 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 tick,
the
tick.
perfect, but you don't even know what that means or what perfect boxes, for you is. And so you're like, none of it fits.
So when did you guys have the conversation about having kids and how that might happen?
So when we first started dating, we were not exclusive yet, and I had been having some problems with having like random cramping. I was taking testosterone at the time, and it's something that happens occasionally with trans men. When you've been on T for a certain amount of time, your uterus just starts getting cranky, for lack of a better word. Like, you haven't been getting a cycle. It's been kind of dormant, and it's not uncommon for there to start being problems. And I was starting to have what I thought were problems, and so I had made an appointment with an OB to get a consult for a hysterectomy. Because I thought what I had always heard was, after a while, it's just a good idea to just get one, because if you're not going to use it, like, take it out, because it's just going to cause you problems.
Yeah.
So I told Malik, I just casually mentioned, like, oh, I have a doctor's appointment. I'm going to see about getting a hysterectomy. And his response was that he was like visibly affected when I told him
like
that.
Upset.
Yeah. Not upset, like angry, but like it definitely
sad
hit him. Sad. He got sad. And I was like, what is that? I didn't expect him to have a reaction, but let alone a reaction like that. And he said, well, I just thought that it would be nice if like you and I stay together and were to end up together. It would be nice to be able to have kids someday. And I had that thought with respect to him and us together had never crossed my mind. We had barely started dating. I was like, wow. I didn't even know if I wanted to like date him exclusively, let alone any of that. But it kind of stuck with me. But I was like, I'm not making decisions based on some man I've just met.
Yeah.
So I had my appointment.
Yeah.
And the doctor said, your ovaries are great. Your uterus is great. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no reason to take it out. But if you want to take it out, I'll write you the letter for your insurance and we'll take it out. It's up to you. So I left that appointment thinking, like, it's up to me. There's no reason for me to make a decision, but if I want to, it's up to me. And then just the more I thought about it, the more I realized, like, how incredibly privileged I was as a queer person who is dating somebody of the same gender to be able to have a kid that is biologically a part of both of us.
Wow.
Like, that just doesn't exist for other queer people. I literally just
got chills. That is actually, because when you first started saying this, I was like, well, my friends, like, but they're two women. So it's the shared biological thing, which is...
Yeah.
Wow.
And even the technology, like, they're working on being able to remove DNA from a sperm so that you could put somebody else's DNA in there so that, like, two women could have biological... Like, they're working on all of that, but aside from any of that, like, we're really the only population of, like, same-sex couples that can, like, have their own kids.
Wow.
And so once I started thinking of it that way, I was like, what a privilege I have to be able to do that. And if I want to have a kid, this is the easiest, theoretically, and definitely cheapest way to do that and to make that happen. So let's try it and see what happens. Yeah. And my husband was the best. He was like, I understand you're going to have to quit taking hormones and it's going to be like this whole process. And at any point in time in the process, if you feel like, nope, I can't do this, this is too much, we'll stop. He was like, no pressure at all to, like, once we start having this conversation, to see it through.
Okay, Malik, our supportive king.
I know, right? He is very supportive. That is one of his best qualities. But yeah, he was just like, at any time, if you feel like it's too much or it's weird, we'll stop. And we just
kept going.
Yep. We got married. I quit taking hormones like the day before we got married. And once I was off and everything was like up and working again, we got pregnant pretty easily. Wow. And, thank goodness. And now we have a 5-year-old, almost 5-year-old.
Now, and you've talked about this and you've written about this before. There are 2 questions that came through from listeners that they wanted to ask you that you've answered other places, but they won't have had that opportunity. So one of them was just about, you've alluded to this as well on here, but the experience of being pregnant, and, like, did that create any sense or feeling of dysphoria for you? I mean, you, I think, have said, like, you have a bit more of a unique relationship with your transness than some other people. But how did that, or did it affect you? Or how did it just change your feeling of yourself in your body?
I think that's what it did more than anything. And the reason I say that is because I think before I got pregnant, my concept of how it was going to affect me or what might happen was different than what ended up actually happening. Yeah. So I was very happy about that. I thought that there was a potential that I could end up having some dysphoria. Yeah. Or that the hormones, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And so I also couldn't have known that we would be in a global pandemic when I ended up being pregnant, which added a whole other level of complications on it. But what I expected and the reality was different. I'm happy to say that I did not experience dysphoria through my pregnancy as a result of actually being pregnant. Yeah. The only time I ever had dysphoria, and I wouldn't even say dysphoria so much as the only other time when I got upset or kind of felt like my pregnancy was at odds with how I felt about myself, would be when I would be in situations, like medical situations, and I would get misgendered by, like, medical personnel. Yeah. Because we were in the pandemic in 2020, I didn't leave my house except to occasionally go to the grocery store, occasionally go to the drugstore, and to go to the doctor.
When's Huddy's birthday again?
October.
Yeah, September is for my dude. Yeah. So same thing. It's like you went into the pandemic not pregnant and you came out with a baby.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, and didn't get to see a whole lot of other people. Yeah. So in a lot of ways, it probably protected me from some of that discomfort because I didn't have to have those potential interactions in public. Yeah. On the downside, it did make nearly every interaction I had around the specific aspect of my body being pregnancy. Like, I was seeing people because I was pregnant. Yes. And so it was putting me into the crosshairs every time, I was interacting with people. So I feel like the answer is sort of like yes and no. Yeah. Like, the dysphoria came from other people's transphobia and other people's lack of awareness, which not from myself.
Kind of the theme throughout, right here is like, actually, if everyone's just allowed to do their own thing and be their own person, so much that, like, plagues people and causes mental health problems, like serious, deep, dark struggles, if everyone just like leaves each other the fuck alone, we'll
Just be
probably
chill.
be fine.
Yeah.
Everyone just chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
Maybe is the message.
Yeah. The thing I realized also was that it gave me a great window into male privilege. So because I have a beard and because aside from the fact that I was pregnant, I visibly pass as male and I like never get clocked when I'm out in public as trans.
Yeah.
Unless I out myself, which I do all the time because I'm very out about my transness. But
Bennett on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. People don't clock me as a trans person just in everyday life. Even when I was pregnant, they still didn't because like beard privilege is a real thing. People see this and they just that's all that matters. I'm also white, and so like being perceived as a white man allows a lot of otherwise you just get to be more private about
everything
what you share with other people because people don't ask you as much.
Yeah.
People aren't as like confrontational and up in your business.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I noticed on your FAQ is you talk about chest feeding instead of breastfeeding.
Yes.
So just in terms of those, including myself, who are trying to educate ourselves, be more inclusive in terms of how we talk about gestational carriers of babies.
Yes, there you go. Or you could just say pregnant people.
Pregnant people. That rolls off the tongue easier.
Yeah.
Pregnant people.
Yeah.
The chest feeding distinction. Is that because, versus breast, is that just the term breast, is that identified as like a female thing?
I think so.
Okay.
It's more of a personal preference, honestly, like for me, just because I don't think of myself as having breasts, even if medically that might still be what a human chest may just be called a breast, no matter what your sex or gender. Yeah. I don't know. Doctors, let us know. Is breast a gender neutral word?
Yeah. We talk about everyone in this house having boobs. Dad,
there you go.
Son, everybody's got boobs.
You know, it's funny, I kind of do too, actually. But it felt like, as somebody who purposefully elected to get rid of mine, it felt like confronting something I had like gotten rid of out of my life. So I try to say chest feeding for people who've had top surgery. If you haven't had top surgery, then you do still have breasts. Right. You may want to call it a chest, and in which case that may apply to you.
It's honoring and it's creating space for making yourself feel comfortable in your sort of journey that you've chosen.
Yeah.
And for those of you, you'll see on the FAQ that I post. But basically, it was just a question of like, do you plan to chest feed? And you said unlikely that's going to happen. Couldn't. Yeah. I mean, and as you rightly pointed out, a lot of women who have all of their boobs struggle to do that in and of itself.
It's not something that everybody can do no matter what, and I figured if it wasn't going to, like, if my kid could survive and thrive, without it, then it wasn't for me.
Okay. Now I have one last question, and then I think I have to go to camp pickup. But my last question is, you guys love each other so much, you and Malik. It's kind of gross almost. Like, you've got a family Insta, you're all just adorable, you're taking cute pictures. What do you fight about?
I was thinking about this on the way over here because I knew you were going to ask me about that. And first of all, I don't like the word fight because
disagree?
Well, I'm a fighter. Like, I practice martial arts. So, like, I literally fight. So, to me, a fight is like something that has a beginning and an end. Okay. And there is somebody who clearly comes out on top.
I like that.
And I feel like most confrontations or most disagreements in parenting and in marriage are around things where there's a gray area where there is no winning. Like, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's just two different people's interpretation of the solution.
Well said.
And so I prefer to say, like, disagreement, because truly it is just a disagreement. Yeah. And a disagreement is something you can either resolve or that can continue to just be a difference of difference of opinion, versus a fight is like it's over and done with. So I like the term disagreement. And I would say most of the things we disagree about are those really annoying things where there is no right or wrong answer. It's just I think the laundry pods go on the bottom of the load. He thinks they go on the top. Like, I think you pull the dishes out in this order. He likes to do it this way. Sometimes we get on each other's nerves about our preferred way to do something. It's like that kind of annoying shit. It's never like
Is there a primary parent, would you say? Or is
No.
it pretty divided, evenly divided?
It's
labor?
pretty evenly divided. Like, we both have our strengths, and I feel like we are both the go-to for different things. So, like, he makes my son's dinner and, like, helps engage in a lot of my son's, like, bedtime ritual. And, like, anytime my son needs his hair combed, my husband combs his hair because he's, like, that's just something he enjoys doing. And he's very particular about how it's done. And, like, I'm the one who does, like, handling the appointments and, like, scheduling that sort of thing. And I'm probably the one that knows when the school thing is happening.
But it's also, like, he's the creative designer and you're the lawyer. So you're also, like, playing to your strengths a little bit.
It kind of makes sense. And I feel like my son is really blessed to grow up with two people who identify as men or as masculine people who do engage in these very everyday caretaking efforts, because he has nothing but examples in front of him of how people of any gender can engage in any kind of behavior. You know, we defy a lot of gender odds around my house too. Like, I like sports. My husband likes pretty things. You know, like, I don't really like gross things. Like, if somebody's gonna, like, pick up the dog poop, like, it's probably gonna be my husband. If somebody's gonna, like, go get the tools out of the garage, I'm probably gonna ask my husband.
Whatever, bike shop dude, come on.
Well, I just like for him to do that kind of stuff. But if it's like, you know, who's gonna, like, read the kid stories before bed? I read stories.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's just, we have our strengths. But sometimes we do get stressed out about life, and then when you're, like, coexisting in a stressful environment, sometimes the way the other person puts away the dishes will piss you off.
Totally.
And that's very normal.
Totally.
And you just have to remember that, like, it's not indicative of how you feel about each other or how you feel about your kid. It's just, you just got to let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah. Like, be frustrated about it and then go, it doesn't matter.
Om Shanti
The
Shanti.
dishes will still get put away. The end, you know.
I'm going to turn that into a meme, just you saying that. And I'm going to replay it for
The dishes
myself.
will still get put away.
They will. Or they won't.
Or they won't. Or they won't. Or you'll both just leave them sit out there because you'll be too pig-headed about doing it, in which case that's a you problem. If you'd rather look at the dishes on the counter than put them away,
You problem.
that's an ego problem.
Yeah.
Because nobody would rather look at dishes than a clean counter. Like, just put them away.
Amen.
You know? That's the other thing. I think that if I could go back to my married self 2 years ago, I've been married 6 years now. It would be like, let the little things go. Like, even if you don't think it's your turn to put the dishes away, if you're standing in front of the dishwasher and it's full of clean dishes, just put them away.
Just put them away.
Just put them away.
Hey, Crosby, if you're listening to this, just put them away.
Just put them away.
That's my husband.
Yeah. I mean, because the gift it is to the other person who maybe doesn't have to put them away that time, even though they think they might have to, is, like, nice.
It's a little way to say I love you.
Yeah.
This has been such a joy. I would love to have a conversation with you moving forward, because we are in the same stage of parenting young boys, and they are fucking crazy.
They are fucking crazy. We should get our crazy young boys together.
I was thinking that would be really fun. This has been such a wonderful introduction to you, and also to the concept of a seahorse.
Yeah.
Cheers to the seahorses out
Cheers to the
there
seahorse
doing the
dads.
hard work under the radar.
You know, we don't get a lot of attention, but we are out here just trying to be the best parents we can be and raise our kids to be the most kind and empathetic and understanding humans they can be.
Amen.
Amen.
Aren't we all? All right, well, this has been wonderful, and I'm excited for people to hear this.
Yeah, me too.
Team, I need your help. If you love it here, please like and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe to the Substack for full access to this episode's show notes and join the discussion. And of course, follow me on Instagram at mutha, mutha.life, for a daily look at all things mother. Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in next week for another Chat in the Closet. This podcast was produced by Mother Life, music by Ronan Landa. See you next time.